Welcome to my first video on YouTube. My name's Sam Wordley. I'm a commercial photographer and I've been a photographer for 20 years. I've lived in New York, Los Angeles, Sydney, and now I live in Madrid. I've done everything from newspaper photography, commercial work, paparazzi, and now I pretty much make my living from stock photography. I've been a photographer for 20 years and I've been predominantly on Nikon. I've shot with, my first camera was a D1, then I had a D1X, then I had a D2X, then I had a D3, then I had a D4, D4S, and now the D850. I've had the D850 for about 6 months, shot about 30,000 images on it, and this camera is great. I didn't exactly want this camera. What I wanted was a D750 that had autofocus in video, 4K, 8 frames a second, good dynamic range, and good ISO. Nikon were waiting a very long time. We've been waiting a very long time for everything for Nikon. They haven't really been releasing enough. The D850 came out, I needed a new camera, my D4S was showing its age, so I bought it. The camera is great. Who's this camera for? It's a landscape studio camera. It's amazing, the dynamic range is amazing, the autofocus is amazing, the file quality is the best I've ever seen. It's a great camera. Where this camera has let me down a little bit is in the ISO. The ISO is a bit rubbish. Compared to a D4S, clearly it's not as good. It's about 1 or 2 stops more noise in high ISO. And also, because it's a 45 megapixel file, you need to double or triple your shutter speeds. So you're losing in ISO and then you're losing more stops in shutter speeds. And the fact that this body doesn't have image stabilization, which the Sony does, and also the majority of my lenses aren't image stabilized, means that not only do I need to double my shutter speeds, I need to shoot in higher ISOs. So the last week I was in Sydney for a job. I shot this whole job. I've done this job for 10 years, my first time on the D850, and I felt a bit undergunned. I was shooting a lot at about 4,000, it was a conference, the light wasn't great, I was shooting fast, and I really didn't enjoy seeing how badly the photos reproduced at the end of the job. I spent also the weekend with my mate in Sydney who had just changed over from Canon to the Sony A7iii. He was raving about the system. He showed me how it worked, and I have to say I was quite impressed. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I'm back in Madrid, and I've just got myself the Sony A7 III, 24-70 and 24-105, and the 70-200 f4s. I'd have to say I've had it about a week now, and it's a great system. I love the size. I love the price. I mean, to give you an example, the A7 III and the 24-105 f4 is the same price as the 850. I believe you're getting a much better kit value. Dollar for dollar, it's better value right now. The camera is 8 frames a second in continuous focus, 10 frames a second without continuous focus, so it's more or less 8 frames a second, 25 megapixel, amazing ISO. The ISO, I believe, is better than the D4S, and the dynamic range is great, the size, the weight, the feel. It's a great camera. The lenses are spot on. I wasn't sure about Sony lenses, and I'd never really thought about Sony as a professional system. Before the new A7 IIIs have come out in the A9, they have dual cards, the autofocus is better, the battery life is better. I think it's at this point now they're professional cameras. Before, when they didn't have dual cards, I could not shoot this system. I could not go to a wedding, I could not go to a corporate job and not have a backup. It's peace of mind, and I think any professional photographer would agree with me, you need to shoot a backup. So at the moment, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I love the D850, but it is limiting. If I had the money, I would keep both, but that's not an option. I believe the Sony is a great system right now. I think it's probably the best system on the market. The autofocus, the eye detective focus is unbelievable. When you read about this and you see the videos online, you kind of think, okay, is this really going to work? Is this something that I can use day to day? And I thought, no. I went out and tested it, and granted, it takes a bit to get used to, and it does take a split second for the camera to lock on, but once it locks on, it does follow focus. It is amazing. And another amazing thing about the eye autofocus is that on the traditional cameras, when you shoot something running and gunning and shooting something outside and it's backlit and you're up against it and you need to shoot it fast, you need to think about your exposure. You need to push and pull your exposure. And with the Sony, you don't need to do that. The Sony, when you're in eye autofocus, it automatically changes your metering system to center weighted sort of face detective exposure readings. So if this is, I shot a test the other day with my girlfriend, and she was outside. I put her in a backlit situation, and I just sort of, I didn't think it would work, and I tried it, and it was spot on. The exposure was perfect. So the idea of being able to shoot this system with great low ISO, great high ISO, image stabilizing in the body, good lenses, good size, it's a very attractive option right now. From my initial week's testing, the image quality is better on the D850. It is. Where I would give this maybe an 8.5 out of 10, this gets a 10. I haven't tried the A7 III, which, you know, is a very similar size sensor. So it's, you know, I would say they would be quite similar. So it's not a fair comparison. But as a system, this camera is amazing for the price, for the size. What I don't like about the camera is the body size is just a little bit too small for my hands. It just feels a little bit like a toy. I would like to see them make the camera body a little bit bigger. And also, it's funny, but my girlfriend mentioned when I got it, she's like, wow, it's small. Are your clients going to take you seriously? And that's a silly question. But, you know, as professionals, we don't think about this. I'd never thought about that. But it's true. We need to look professional. These cameras don't look that professional. That's an outsider's point of view. These cameras are very professional, and they're very capable cameras. As far as the looking through the viewfinder and seeing the digital readout, it doesn't feel the same as using a D850, a traditional digital SLR. It does feel different, but the benefits are I can see the photos in real time. I don't need to review the photos. I know I've got the photo. I can see if I'm clipping my photo. I can see if it's 100% in focus. I can zoom in. I can do all this stuff in the viewfinder. And if I'm outside, I can review the photo in broad daylight and see it. So that's definitely a plus. As far as a learning curve going from the Nikon to the Sony is a big learning curve. Don't think you're going to pick this camera up and run and gun. Don't try and, if you're going to buy this system, don't think about going to shoot the first day or the second day, even the first week with this camera a commercial job. It's not going to happen. You're going to feel overwhelmed and you're probably going to stuff your job up. There's a lot to learn, but at the same time, with a couple of days, you're going to learn how to use it. It's a little computer, so you can customize everything. And you know, I've been using it now for 5 days. I've watched all the YouTube videos. I'm learning a lot about it, and I'm really enjoying the system. It really is, I believe, right now the best system, dollar for dollar, to be had. As far as people with Nikon, there's not really many options to change your lenses over, to use your Nikon native lenses on Sony. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that. I think the Sony lenses, using native lenses on a native camera is the best. I will, if I decide to stay with Sony, I will sell all my equipment. I won't try and use the lenses. It's just not going to work, especially with the eye autofocus. The Sony lenses are great and they're designed for this camera, and it does work very well. Anything else I can say? So which camera is better and which camera is better for you? If I was just shooting architectural work, landscapes, studio work, and I needed to reproduce really big images, the Nikon D850 is an amazing camera. Dynamic range is phenomenal. The quality, when you zoom in at 100%, it's very impressive. But saying that, it's not a very versatile camera. If you are more a wedding photographer, portrait photographer that shoots in various different lighting situations and in the studio, and you need high ISO and you also need autofocus in 4K, the autofocus system for video in the Sony is very close to the Canon. It's very good. I've been testing it. It has track focus. It does work in continuous focus. It really is very good. It's at a level that you can use it. The Nikon autofocus in 4K video is non-existent. Don't even think about using it. It is manual focus only. The follow focus doesn't work. Everything I've shot in the video has to be locked down on a tripod and manual focused. Right now, after a week of testing and playing around, I am tending towards a Sony. I'm going to shoot a job on Thursday. I'm going to use the D850 as my main camera. I'll shoot a bit on the A7, and I'm just going to see how it works on an actual job. I don't have the confidence right now to just use the Sony, but let's see how I go. I'm not a YouTuber, guys. Sorry about the sound. Sorry about all the ums and ahs, but I thought it might be an interesting video for a real life photographer to tell you how these systems compare and my thoughts. I hope you like the video, and if you like the video, like it, and if I get enough likes, maybe I'll do some more. Good luck, have fun shooting. Remember, it's not the camera, it's the photographer, always. Enjoy your day. Thanks a lot. See ya.